Yeah, I think it's live now. Okay, so this is current affairs, science and tech. Again, 5 topics that we have to cover. First is this. So basically, this is Pathfinder, India's first orbital data center. Okay, we'll understand this. First of all, do you understand what is a data center? What's a data center? Huh? All data? See, basically data, you understand servers. Servers are interconnected computers. Data centers are something that houses server and the supporting equipments, the cooling system, the power system. If you combine all of them together, it becomes data center. The modern data centers that we have are not just about storing, they can also process a lot of data. Okay, so all that is done in data centers. Now, the issue that the world is facing right now is data centers are highly power consuming. That's why many countries, especially the developed countries like USA, they are saying that we don't want data centers in our country. Okay, slowly more countries will start saying like this because it is very power consuming and it also requires clean water for cooling purposes. So these are the reasons. So then they are coming up with different solutions. Now one of the solution is actually orbital data centers. By orbital you can understand that it will go around in the orbit in space. Now why it will be much more less power consuming that way? Because you have direct solar radiations present there and you can maintain that solar radiation for the entire duration. From that it can get continuous power. So they are thinking of making orbital data centers which will not occupy land and space on earth also it will get the power directly from the sun. Now, so India has also developed its first, that is by the name of Pathfinder. Now, let's see this. First thing, so this is Pixel Bengaluru and Sarvam AI are developing India's first orbital data center that is named Pathfinder. The target is of Q4 2026. Q4 2026, they will be launching this. Pixel and Sarvam AI, you must have heard about Sarvam AI, India AI Impact Summit. In that, they developed their own LLM, correct? So these two are combining to form this, correct? Now, what is an orbital data center? This you have understood, satellites with powerful computing hardware, correct? So they will have GPUs which can do what? Processes data directly in orbit using edge computing. What is edge computing? You know about cloud computing and edge computing. So cloud computing is basically when the data being collected and the data being processed are very far from each other. For example, if I am doing something here and let's say Harshit sir is also editing a document here. Now everything goes to the Microsoft server, correct? And then he can see what additions I have made, correct? Now everything is unnecessarily going to the Microsoft server then coming back, even though we are located very close to each other. Probably he is just right above right now. Okay, so basically edge computing is when the data where it is getting produced, right there it gets processed also. That is edge computing. So here why they have written edge computing, once the data actually reaches the satellites, okay, there only within the satellites they will try to process it instead of relaying whole data back on earth. So they will do all the processing, all the useless data, okay, all the false data or whatever kind of data that they will remove. Whatever are the main observations, main things that they got out of data, that only they will relay back to earth. That is why it is being called edge computing. Understood? Then sends analyzed instead of raw data to earth. Same thing. Then, so what is Pathfinder mission? So this is about testing the feasibility of AI computing in space. There is one very famous one of Google called Suncatcher. Okay, so Suncatcher also does this same thing, that is data centers in the space. Now, Pathfinder mission is also testing the same thing. Now, supports on-board processing. You understood this. Aligns with India's growing private space ecosystem. As you can see, both these are private companies. Then you come here. Significance: lower burden on terrestrial data centers. Faster AI and Earth observation processing. Correct, because you don't have to sell all data. So basically, see, right now the satellites that you have, they take in observation, then most of it they relay to the ground, then every processing, everything is done on the ground. So they are relaying very useless data also. But if they develop this capability, most of it will be dealt in space only. Then strategic advantage in defense, AI, autonomous space operations, all that. Then challenges: high launch and maintenance cost right now, radiation and thermal issues. This is a major issue. Major challenges this only. See, because now one advantage that you are getting is you are getting direct sunlight or direct solar energy all the time. But the problem is that sun is not that simple a thing. Okay, it also releases solar winds, it also releases different kinds of radiations, coronal mass ejections, all that can also come your way. So handling those radiations also become a issue. Correct. Then cooling systems also become a very major issue there, because you don't have water availability that can do cooling very easily. Then space debris risk. What is space debris? Space junk. Okay, whatever satellites, whatever you send, after a point they are junk. Correct, they stop working. Now nobody goes there and to bring it back. Correct, that will cost a lot of money. So all that actually becomes space debris. So eventually, right now it may work fine, but after 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, it will retire and then it will be in space. It will become space debris. Last is cyber security risk, because if it is located on ground, you still have much more easier security. Correct, you can maintain that what signals are in your territorial airspace. But if it is going around the earth, now it will also go above USA, let's say. Now they have direct access if they want to do something, some harm to it. Correct. So this is another risk. Then relevance, you can understand science and tech, international relations, security, environment, all these are there. So this is the India's first orbital data center satellite, that is Pathfinder. You have understood which two companies are doing this and what are the main advantages, why we are doing something like this, and some challenges also. That's it. Then we come to next, which is the what are the solutions? See, right now the technology is at nascent stage. As you can see, this is about testing the feasibility. Solutions can be, for example, they have to develop better material so as to deal with radiation and thermal issues. Space debris, for example, ISRO and other countries have also started. You know about POM mission. So basically in ISRO, what they are doing after launching everything, now whatever junk is left on that, they are placing certain kinds of sensors and observatories. So they are making it observatories once the space mission expires. So then it has the sensors, so you cannot bring it back. Right now we don't have that technology. It costs a lot of money. So you put more things in it so that it is useful for a much longer time. Then eventually we may have capability to clear the space debris also. So all these are there. Okay. Then next is Ebola kills 80 in Congo. WHO declares global health emergency. Now, so this is Democratic Republic of Congo. It is again seeing Ebola cases. Actually, the name Ebola also comes from this country only. So this country actually has something called Ebola River. On that only this disease is named. Again coming from the same Democratic Republic of Congo. So disease originated around 1976 around some regions which are around this river. That's why it is called Ebola. Okay, then now let's see this. So first of all, what is this? So this is a viral fever that you are seeing. Ebola virus, you must have heard. Okay, now what is this? So new Ebola outbreak has been seen in Democratic Republic of Congo, WHO and African CDC has released alerts. Now, understand this. So, this is caused by the name you may forget. This is Bondi Bogyo strain. So, basically, what is this? See, there are many strains of this. Okay, of them, this strain actually does not have any vaccine. Whatever treatment, whatever most things we have are for other strains. That's why this strain is equally deadly also, and the problem is that it does not have an active vaccine. Because it does not have an active vaccine, that's why they are saying that we have to call this a global risk right now. Okay, now what is Ebola virus disease? So severe viral hemorrhagic fever then affects humans and primates caused by viruses of flaviviridae family, high fatality disease. Now understand this. First thing, this is a zoonotic disease. What is zoonotic? From the animals to the humans. Now, but it also shows human to human transmission. Okay, these which family of virus, all that is not important. You just understand this is a virus, this is a viral disease, viral zoonotic disease. This you must not forget. Then, now see the strains. So there is Zaire strain. This is the most deadly. Then there is Sudan virus. Then this is Bundi Bugyo. This is what we are talking about right now. Now vaccines are mainly available for the Zaire strain. That's why this is a global alert right now. Then how does this spread?
There are different types of virus.
Yeah, these are different. So strains, you understand. So virus actually mutates and it forms many different strains. So these are different strains. So one might have been found for the first time in Sudan. So they named it Sudan virus. Nothing much. Okay. So these are the three strains. This is what we have seen more historically. Yes, yes. So this one we don't have any vaccine. This is the reason for current outbreak. Then how does Ebola spread? So very similar to how the Nipah virus also spreads. So basically this spreads from something we know as fruit bats. Fruit bats are natural carriers of this. It is also said that COVID also came from fruit bats. It is said. Now, that there we are not very confirmed. Okay, but fruit bats are the carriers of Nipah virus also, of this also. Now, how it spreads? So, first thing, it spread animal to human via infected bats or primates. So what happens? How primates get infected? What happens? These bats, fruit bats, they eat fruits, correct? Now, sometimes they eat it half, they leave it. Sometimes their saliva, urine, all these are present. Now, that is eaten by primates. Okay, so all these animals, then they also become carriers of the same Ebola virus. Okay, now human to human can also transmit from human to human. That is human to human via blood and bodily fluids. Correct? Same way as it spread from fruit bats to other primates or other bats, same way. Then through broken skin, mucous membrane contact, then contaminated clothes, bedding, medical equipment, then burial rituals involving contact with dead bodies. All these are reasons, correct, that can cause the infection to spread from human to human. Understood? Then symptoms are fairly simple: fever, extreme fatigue, muscle pain, vomiting, rash, all these are there. Then why is Ebola dangerous? Because the fatality rate, even after discovering this virus or disease from 1976 and developing a lot of research has gone into it, we have also developed vaccine and some treatments, basic treatment, still the fatality rate is around 50%. Okay, because the fatality rate is so high, 50% fatality rate, you understand? So if 100 people catch this disease, 50 will go. Okay, then rapid spread through close contact. So it can spread rapidly through close contact. One difference you must be clear that this is about, okay, so this is mainly spread by blood and bodily fluids, not usually airborne, not usually airborne. Then severe dehydration and organ failure, then weak healthcare systems worsen the outbreaks. Okay, then treatment. What is the treatment? So there is no proper treatment that can completely really treat it or can stop all kinds of strains and all. Understand this. So early supportive care helps. If you are able to diagnose this early, then you can start doing symptomatic treatment. You understand? Symptomatic treatment is basically for most viral diseases like this, which are very fatal, you don't have a treatment to just get rid of the virus completely. So what doctors do, they do symptomatic treatment. So let's say you have this, okay, let's say I have this, and if I'm getting fever, then doctor will give me paracetamol. If because of this I am facing some kind of pain, they will give me painkiller. This is called treating the symptom, because disease you can't really easily treat. So this is called symptomatic treatment. So if symptomatic treatment, supportive care, same thing. If it starts early, it is better for the survival. Then rehydration, okay, via oral or fluids. Then symptom management. This I told you. Then there is one more thing called monoclonal antibodies that have been also successful for some strains. Monoclonal antibodies. See, basically, let's say some person has got this, okay, now because of that their body will produce certain antibodies against the virus to fight it. Now those you take out, okay, now just to study it, now in the labs you try to make similar antibodies, completely artificially made, but made in labs similar to how antibodies you would produce if you would have gotten this. Then these are injected into people to treat them, because their body will take a lot of time to produce that amount of antibodies. So you directly try to inject it. This has worked fine in case of certain strains. That's it. Then this is PMOS is the new name for PCOS. PCOS or PCOD you might have heard of. Okay. Now see this. See, so basically they have changed the name from PCOS to PMOS. Now understand this. So yeah. So PCOS is the old name. This is polycystic ovary syndrome. Okay. Now what happens here? They are talking about cyst. Okay. While PCOS or PCOS, the old name if you consider, the same thing happens to a lot of women. Okay. Because of this they get irregular periods. Okay. They get different kinds of fatigue. All those issues, hormonal issues they face. You might have heard many girls telling that because of PCOS or PCOD I have gained a lot of weight. So all these are caused by this, basically some kind of hormonal imbalance. Now the old name actually overtly focuses on polycystic, that is cyst in the ovary. Cyst means some outgrowth like this. Okay, so it focuses overtly on cyst, while this is a much more larger thing, much more wider thing that is happening inside female bodies. So now they have renamed it to polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome, so that it becomes much more general in the sense. Now this was recently published in the Lancet. Now for the last 14 years they have done a lot of surveys and research to finally come to this conclusion that this name should be changed to this. Then just very basic we need to understand. So what is PMOS? So this is chronic endocrine metabolic disorder, affects women of reproductive age. Then see this, what it causes, this is the main thing that you need to remember. It causes hormonal imbalance and irregular ovulation. Now because of this, because of hormonal imbalance, it is often linked with obesity, diabetes and CVD risk. Okay, so these are the risk that is associated with hormonal changes. Then key features: irregular periods, acne, weight gain, infertility, insulin resistance. Insulin resistance, you understand? हाँ, insulin resistance. So basically, see, insulin is needed by your cells. So insulin acts as a doorkeeper. So it goes to your cells and asks it to open the door and whatever food, nutrition, whatever sugar is present in your blood to take it in. Now, after a point, what happens if you keep, let's say you have this disorder or you keep eating, then your cell do not need any more nutrition. Your cell is not ready to absorb the sugar. Now, insulin is still being produced. So insulin is asking it to open up and take in more sugar from the blood. Now, at one point, the cell will start refusing to listen to insulin. That is called insulin resistance. Okay, we'll see this when we study about weight loss drugs and all in biotechnology and health. Then, so all these are issues that are caused by it. Cyst was earlier, the term that was earlier used was misleading because this affects multiple hormonal and metabolic system. Reduces infertility, stigma also, and promotes holistic diagnosis. All this is fine. Then, significance: 1 in 8 women globally face this issue. In India, it is 16 to 18% women are affected by this. Then, 70% cases remain undiagnosed. Now, what does PMOS mean? So, this is polyendocrine, that is multiple endocrine organs involved. So, basically what they are saying that this is not just about the ovary, this is related to even the mental and psychological aspect of it, even other parts of their body that are involved in it. All those we must consider together when we are studying about PMOS. Then, metabolic linked with insulin, all this, ovarian syndrome is fine. Then, early screening and diagnosis, lifestyle modification, integrated reproductive endocrine and metabolic care, all these are the way forward. Then, DRDO test, Tara glide weapon. You know the difference between these two? Missile and gravity bombs. Gravity bombs are simply what you understand as bombs. Bombs will be what? Just some explosive, you drop it. That is bomb, correct? Gravity bomb, why it is called gravity bomb? Because you're just leaving it to free fall on some place. What is a missile? How it is different? Missiles are not completely guided always. For example, ballistic also, but this is powered. This is not powered. So the trajectory that missile takes, that is entirely powered. For example, okay. Now, is it audible? It's fine now? Yeah. So, gravity bombs, if you see, so basically, missiles is powered for example, ballistic missile is powered for half of the journey, cruise is powered throughout. We'll see them. Gravity bombs are simply you are dropping an explosive. Now, which do you think will be more risky? If I am on a fighter jet, okay, dropping which of these will be more risky for me if I am on a fighter jet? No, I am not. Yeah. Yeah, which will be easier for me? See. If I am a pilot and I need to drop bombs over some place, for example, recently USA was doing this against Iran. So basically, I have to go right above Iran and then drop bomb. If I want to send a missile, then it is not much risky. Correct? I can be far, I can just release the missiles. Correct? Now, but missiles are what? Missiles are much more costly. because they have their own power system by which they are run, propulsion systems, fuel, everything is there. It's a much more advanced thing. Gravity bombs are very cheap, but they do not provide you what? They do not provide you range. So you have to go right above it. It does not provide you targeting properly. Correct? That's why we made something known as this glide weapons. This is the mix of these two. Understand this. Now, basically what you will be doing, if you see it here, so this you see. So what you are doing, if this is explosive, now with this explosive, you will connect a very basic system that can do what? That can do some amount of inertial navigation, correct? And it has properties to deal with GPS also. Now, it is shaped like this, like a plane, so that it can go much farther. For example, if I take a small tissue, okay, small ball of tissue. Now, if I am going like this, how far can I drop the tissue? Just very short distance. But if from that, if I stick it, let's say on a paper plane, and then I throw it, now can that ball travel much farther? Why? Because of the wings facing some resistance, it won't go down like this. It will glide in the air, and then eventually it will drop. Now what this is? This is increase in range. So essentially, you can increase range of the gravity bombs using this technology. So now gravity bombs that usually travel 5-10 kilometers at max. How it is traveling 5-10 kilometers? Because flight is also, the aircraft is also going at a very high speed. So if you drop something from here, it has the velocity in that direction at least. So it will go some distance, that is fine. But using this, you can go till 40-50 kilometers also. Why? Because it is glide and over time it will reach much farther. This is safer for the pilot also because it gets some navigation system. So slight maneuvering, targeting is done much more properly. Understood? Then
direction changes, it will follow the direction.
yeah, but with a very limited capability. Not like cruise missiles. Cruise missiles can send their own radars all the time and then go. Okay, so there are 4-5 systems. This is following the middle one, that is the second and third system. This is not like cruise missiles. Cruise missiles are much more advanced. This is just like gravity bombs you have. Those are very cheap. Missiles are costly. So you got some basic systems out of missile and you put it here. Just understand it like this, so that the range is increased and some little navigation it can do. That's it. Then it is tactically very important. Okay, now, so that is why tactical advanced ranged augmentation. This is the full form of TARA. Now, DRDO and IAF have successfully flight tested TARA. This is India's first indigenous glide weapon kit, then tested off Odisha coast. Now, what is TARA? This you have already understood. Converts unguided dumb bombs into precision guided weapons. Correct? Modular glide kit attached to conventional warhead. So this is like a modular kit. Why they have made a modular kit? So that according to how large is that warhead, they can adjust this. Okay, so that can be easily adjusted. What is to be placed in front of it. Then how does TARA work? So this you have understood, released from fighter aircraft at high altitude and speed. So the initial altitude, because of the altitude, what it will get? It will gain velocity in the vertical direction, and because the aircraft is going at a very high cruising speed, because of that it gets the horizontal velocity. All that is fine. Then foldable wings open after release for long distance gliding. This also understood. Then uses aircraft's launch speed to travel farther. Correct? Then onboard navigation plus satellite guidance correct flight path. So slight navigations, all it can. No, it is not powered. No. The whole point of this was to make these old bombs that are there, to make them more powerful, more guided. Otherwise, is this better than missiles? No. Okay, not in any world they are better than missiles, but missile cost a lot of money. This will not cost a lot of money. That is why tactical. Okay, then now what is this? Why it is strategically important? Enhances standoff strike capability, then allows strikes outside enemy air defense range. From far also you can launch it. Improves fighter jet survivability, then cost effective upgrade of existing bombs, reduces import dependence, all this. Then compatible with multiple IAF fighter jets. This is not some very difficult thing. For example, only certain missiles you can place with certain fighter jets, correct? So for example, most of the nuclear missiles that we have, they only work with the foreign jets that we have. For example, Rafale, Sukhoi. The Indian ones are not working very well with them. So you have to constantly adjust. Now, this is a very simple system. It can work with most of the fighter jets. Then modular design for different warheads. Different variants are available. Developed by DRDO Hyderabad. Okay.
Why fighter jets are Indians?
No, it is Russia's. Yes. Okay, that also we import. Yes, Tejas is indigenous by DRDO. Got it? Then next, National Technology Day. Okay, so nothing much here, but through this topic what I will be explaining you. So National Technology Day, why it is celebrated? So it is celebrated on 11th of May. This is the day when we became a nuclear power. That is in 1998. This was the day we successfully conducted Pokhran 2. Pokhran, you know, Pokhran 2. Yeah, so nuclear missile testing. Okay, so Pokhran 2 made us a nuclear power. So that day itself is celebrated National Technology Day. Now, this time the theme that they had was responsible innovation for inclusive growth. Now, this here I have made a timeline of how things have worked. Okay, now this you will study much more in detail when you do internal security. In that you read all of this. Now this is in a good table form, understand this. So basically I will just give you an idea. See, Atomic Energy Act was passed in 1948. In 1954, Department of Atomic Energy was created. After this, in 1974, we conducted Pokhran 1. This is also called Smiling Buddha. This was our first nuclear test. After this, India actually refused to sign NPT before this. NPT is what? Non-Proliferation Treaty. So basically what these countries said in 1967, they said that right now the 5 countries that have nuclear weapon, they only should have nuclear weapon. No other country should get nuclear weapons now. Now this is an arbitrary cutoff date that they had created. The P5 countries. Okay. Now the veto power countries of UNSC. Now they said this. Now of course India denied this, that how can you decide a cutoff date that who have made till then? So India refused to sign NPT clearly. Then we did our test also. Now after our Pokhran test, actually what happened? They make a nuclear suppliers group against us. So basically not just against us, but after our test only they created NSG. In nuclear suppliers group they formed a lot of resolutions that you have to follow this. Then only you will be given nuclear fuel for nuclear energy generation. So they were saying that uranium and all that you need for nuclear power generation, we won't give you that until and unless you satisfy all these criteria, until and unless you sign this NPT, CTBT. If you don't sign it, you won't get uranium from outside. That they were saying. So this also came out after India tested its own nuclear weapon. Then in 1996, India also refused to sign CTBT. This is Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. That is, we won't be testing nuclear weapons. That also we refused. Then in 1998, we did it successfully. 5 nuclear tests. We became a nuclear power. Okay. Then India was declared a nuclear weapon state. Then in 2003, what we said, we signed our nuclear doctrine and formalized no first use policy. So what we said, that we have done nuclear test. Okay, we have become a nuclear weapon state, but we will be responsible with respect to it. And that's why we made our own nuclear doctrine. In that we said no first use policy, that we won't be the first one to do a nuclear attack. Okay. We won't be the first one. Also, one thing more we said, that if there is a non-nuclear power state, we won't do nuclear attack on them, to show that we are a responsible nuclear weapon country, not like Pakistan or North Korea like that. Then, now this is important. In 2008, India and US signed civil nuclear agreement. Now, why is this important? So, NSG has very strict requirements. Now, because of that, we were not able to get uranium for our nuclear energy generation also. So, this was a major problem. Then we formulated an agreement with USA. After this, a very unique thing was done. That is, they said that NSG is usually not allowed for any country which has not signed all these documents. But for India, we are allowing the import of nuclear, we will be providing nuclear fuel. So, Nuclear Suppliers Group NSG's waiver was granted to India. Okay, so without signing the treaty, we got the waiver that we can import. Now, MTCR is in India joined this later on. That is Missile Technology Control Regime. That is not making dual use technologies. Okay, that can be used as in a normal way also and in the weapon way also. Then next is India joined Wassenaar Agreement. All these are suppliers group only. Like this is nuclear fuel supplier. This is also similarly Australia group also. Then this is again important. In 2018, we made INS Arihant. INS Arihant actually made us a nuclear triad nation. What is a triad nation nuclear? Nuclear triad nation is a nation which can launch nuclear weapons from land, air and sea. Understood? So INS Arihant is our submarine. Okay, so basically why this is so important? Let's say some country like Pakistan, in Pakistani news channels they were saying this, that let's destroy entire India, then there won't be anybody to retaliate, correct? So what they will do of their nuclear weapon if we just destroy entire India? Now the thing is, we can do this to Pakistan, but Pakistan cannot do this to us because we are a nuclear triad country. So we have submarines that are around the world located anywhere that has nuclear weapons. So if something like this is done to our country, the information, there are systems by which it will reach the submarines. Now submarine, there are people who would know what they have to do. So it will go very near to Pakistan. Okay, no, very near it does not need to, actually it has much higher range now. So it will go there and it will make sure that Pakistan is also obliterated, destroyed from the face of earth. So that's why no country would like to do any kind of nuclear attack to us. This whole thing that you can attack from all three, in that two are very easy. If you can do it from land, doing it from air is very easy. You can just import one very good aircraft that can do it. Main is this submarine, and you cannot just buy it from other country, otherwise the location will always be known to them, correct? Then it is not real capability. So this we had developed and we became a nuclear triad nation. So this is the whole development that has happened with respect to nuclear weaponry in India. Understood? Time for questions. See the options, then it becomes easier. Third is wrong. Why third is wrong? Completely eliminate the need of ground infrastructure. Nothing like this. Ultimately, whatever data process, whatever you do, ultimately you will want it to be on the ground station. How many data centers you have right now? You're just sending it there, only very few you have there. Otherwise, most of the processing has to be done on the ground. This is absolutely wrong. An extreme statement also. These two are correct. Answer becomes 1 and 2. Then most direct engineering challenge. What do you think? What's the major issue? Radiation tolerance and thermal management. Then What do you think? 1 and 2, correct. Long distance airborne transmission is not there. Measles. Measles, you know? Yeah. What is measles? Measles is basically measles is a type of disease like chicken pox, you know, no? Similar to that, you get around your face and body. That is measles. Okay. Then, so measles is actually travel from, like it can travel long distances. This cannot really. So first and second are correct. Answer becomes 1 and 2. Then.
One and three.
Huh? Okay, it is not specifying the strain. Against the Zaire strain, you have vaccines, correct? So this statement, vaccines against Ebola are available. Yes, this is correct. If it says about that particular strain, then it is not available. Okay, so this is available. This is also correct. Monoclonal antibody therapies can be used against Ebola. Yes, answer becomes all 3.
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. See, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Then. What it does? PCOS or PMOS. This is insulin resistance and irregular menstrual cycles. Correct? Then. What do you think? A, correct. Third is wrong. This is not propelled at all. Okay, this is just guided by those navigation system. Then. What do you think? All 3. See, first is wrong. First is definitely right. Correct. This is when they made NSG. Now, India is currently a full member of the NSG. We have only gotten a waiver. We have not signed those treaties, so we are not full members of NSG. Otherwise, if we had become full member, then this is not a unique case. Na? I told you this is a very unique case that we have got. Otherwise, there are so many members. We would also be one of the members. But without signing the treaty, we have got the waiver. That is why we are not a full member. Then, the NSG aims to regulate nuclear commerce and prevent proliferation. Yes, general. Answer is A, 1 and 3. What do you think? Huh? What happened after Indo-US civil nuclear agreement? This happened in 2008. After this, what we got? We got waiver in nuclear suppliers group. This is what happened. No? So, it enabled civilian nuclear cooperation despite India being outside the NPT. Understood? Last. Missile technology control regime. What do you think? Huh? 1 and 3. Okay. So NPT we are a non-signatory. Yes. Then MTCR we are a member. Yes. Then CTBT signed but not ratified. This is just bluffing. Okay. Nothing like this we have done. We have completely rejected NPT as well as CTBT. MTCR we are a member. You've seen now. Yes. Yeah. India joined MTCR. Okay. Yeah, so answer becomes what? 1 and 3. Okay, that's it for your current affairs. Thank you.